if you look at your document preferences, this is dependent on which version you're running. You can see one of the great features that VectorWorks provides. It's the cropped perspective. Without having to set a camera or any other type of view, you can set up a cropped view. It is typically when you're using tools like the walkthrough, because you're in a perspective view that has a projection here, normal perspective. If we simply go to orthogonal, you see that it's gone. But as soon as I click on walkthrough over here, let's do walkthrough, you see now that. Now you can adjust these just like you would a photo in photo editing software. So anyway, I'm going to leave this like this. And what is excellent about this feature is you can use the keyboard and I can zoom out. Now you notice the page gets smaller, which is what you want. You want this view to stay. Typically I use the keyboard Command 1 on a Mac, Control 1 on a PC, I believe. And I can zoom in and look at things close. Then I can hit Command 4, fit to page, and I'm right back out where the page was. Now, if I turn this off, what happens is the same keyboard commands for zooming in and out become something different. And you see that there is something over here that in the previous view we didn't see. And it's one of the great features. When you turn on crop view, you end up with just what's inside of those bounding boxes. So from that standpoint, if I zoom out here, I don't see anything else around the drawing, and I can concentrate and use commands like fit to page and see what I'm looking at. If I turn this cropped view setting off, cropped view, cropped perspective, and for example, I do Command 6, I see everything when I wanted to simply zoom into what I could see. Especially if that's selected, for example, and we're looking at our page, suddenly the page is different. This isn't what I had a minute ago. And a saved view is important here. I had already made a saved view. I called it simple 111, and it took me back to this view with just this item in place. Now, you may want to see that. So turning off the crop perspective is acceptable, but what you end up with is the inability to control where you are. For example, like if I say Command 6 now, I'm all of a sudden looking at what is selected and this other item is selected. But if I go like this and say save view, bring it back to my saved view, I have the crop perspective on, and I say Command 6, I'm looking at what's in my picture here. Again, that's two sets of keyboard functions using the same keyboards selection, the same keyboard keys. One is going to let me zoom in. You notice I get closer. I can see that. It maintains the same perspective, the same sight lines. Hitting Command 4 gets me all the way out here to the page view. And again, if I turn off crop perspective and I say Command 6, in this case, this item was selected, so it's taking me over to it. I don't want to see that. If I deselect this from the keyboard and say Command 6, I now see everything. That's not a bad thing, except back to wanting to just work on that piece and isolate it from the balance of my document. Having the cropped perspective on lets me use Command 1 to zoom in, Command 2 to zoom out. Command 4 gives me the page size, and again you can see these bounding corners. Let's zoom out a little bit, and you see we can adjust them, so now my window is a little bit bigger. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to zoom to that window. I'm still zooming to the extents. I'm still zooming to what's selected. I'm still zooming to the page. I can set a window that's bigger or smaller. Let's make a smaller one here. And you notice I'm kind of isolating. This is in keeping with the clip cube. So I could do this, but if I go to Command 4, which is fit to page, I see this. But I can make a window around this. And now I'm going to say save view. Just give it an arbitrary name. So I want to see the orientation, I want to see the zoom and pan, I want to see the page location, I want to see the layers and classes. They're all on, there's only 2. Let's go from there. So now, if I say Command 1, I see this. See my cropped perspective, and if I say Command 2, notice my crop perspective has changed along with the document. So you can have different ways of looking at your work, isolating it, especially with the saved view and how you set up things. And it becomes an easy editing process with keyboard shortcuts that give you fit to page, zoom in, zoom out, and zoom extents. Now notice the extents are what is selected, and it's centered on that portion of your drawing, not the entire object. Now if we do this and go to this one and say zoom extents, notice it is showing us the entire thing. Save view is what lets us have this different view. Zoom to extents is what lets us have just this area centered on the drawing. Look for document settings, document preferences, and crop perspective. It gets you this little window of the world. You're looking at the window, you've isolated. It's as though you've taken a piece of cardboard, cut a square in it, and set it on top of your drawing on your desktop. And it makes for efficient, quick, easy editing process with keyboard commands for zooming in and out. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.